The far right is on the march across Europe. They topped the poll in 6 countries in the European elections. They came second in another 2. They got about 20% right across Europe. And a key question is, how were they defeated? We have debated before about whether the so-called centre is best placed to defeat them or whether the left is best placed to defeat them. And I think we've seen a kind of laboratory test in France over these 2 strategies, where Macron put forward an immigration law, supposedly to kind of take account of the concerns of those who might otherwise vote for the far right, a law so bad that Le Pen, in fact, voted for it, and then called a surprise snap election, which opened the door to the Rassemblement National coming first in the first round of those elections, and then ultimately the Macron grouping, the so-called centrist grouping, being quite decisively pushed back in terms of their representation. Contrast that with the approach of the left, which came together in the space of a number of days, united around a radical programme, including the kind of measures that People Before Profit puts forward: wealth tax, tax on excess profits, price freezes in terms of energy, a maximum ceiling in terms of inheritance, interestingly, in the context of the debate around inheritance tax. And the consequence was that, linked with mobilisation on the ground, is that the French left, the New Popular Front, won the elections. There's a lesson for us here. Above all, I'd say there's a lesson to the left to prepare a left front before the next general election.
So I want to thank colleagues for raising a variety of issues. Look, firstly, Deputy Boyd Barrett and I don't agree on a lot on foreign affairs, but I have said in this House, I said it recently, I've said it at the European Council, I've said it publicly at the Peace Summit in Ukraine, that I do believe there's an inconsistency in approach being taken by many countries in relation to conflict, and not this one. Because I've said before, I don't like this country being described as, are we pro this or pro that? We're pro international law and we're pro human rights, and that's the lens we bring to all conflict. So we think what's happening in the Middle East is utterly horrific, is in the space of in a space that is almost unimaginable in terms of humanitarian catastrophe. We think the position in terms of Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine is also a despicable act of brutality, and we can speak out against both. And I do find it unfortunate that not all countries do that. And Ireland and Irish ministers continue to advocate in every international fora, with every leader, with every counterpart we engage with, for an end to conflict and violence. And we're extraordinarily consistent in relation to that. It's not for me to speak to other countries' foreign policies, but the European Union is a collection of member states with independent foreign policy, foreign affairs ministers, governments and the likes. And while people like to personalise this around President von der Leyen, the reality of the situation is, if enough member states of the European Union, people who sit around the council table with me, were willing to back Ireland and Spain's call, and somewhat Belgium's call, in relation to review the trade agreement, it would happen. So I think the position of President von der Leyen has been misrepresented intentionally time and time again. Yes, in the early days, after the most horrific terrorist attack, which is what it was, by the way, on the Israeli people in October, a horrific terrorist attack that saw the butchering and death of their people, heinous crimes, President von der Leyen visited Israel and expressed solidarity with the people of Israel. Israel has moved well beyond, though, simply defending itself to a position that is utterly unacceptable to us, and I think to people right throughout the civilised world. She has supported UNRWA in terms of extra funding. This bell thing, everyone asks me questions, then you ring the bell and I never answer the questions. I know that's not your fault. She wants an immediate ceasefire. We believe in a two-state solution. That is now the unanimous view of the European Council. Perhaps we can exchange views on how best to beat the far right in the future. But fundamentally, I'd be very interested to know the position of the left in this country as to what you do with Sinn Féin in any such alliance.